Well, thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I think my role has changed. I was in the panel part, but some of our colleagues were not able to join. But it's always good to ask questions and put some of the key aspects. I think what we will be focusing on financing some of these key areas where we will look at the circular economy aspects. But what I will be focusing currently on that just to set the context in terms of, and if you can share your initial insights, that we have a target of net zero. And is it possible to achieve net zero without the principles of circular economy? And I know the answer is no, but what is needed to bring that one vision, and what is needed to break the silos between different agencies who are working in this space? And maybe we can start with you, sir, and then Neha can put her thoughts around that.
Thanks to Times of India, and lovely to the panelists and ladies and gentlemen. It's a great joy being here. I like the way the topic was put on. Solutions or opportunities for people. Net zero gives you a lot of opportunities. You asked for net zero. But let me begin by saying that the previous speaker in the session talked about, from Hinware, he talked about the real aspect of circular economy. By design, what do we mean by circularity or circular principles are how we can extend the product, how there can be no waste, how there can be a design which promotes efficiency of material use. And you know, I come from Center for Environment Education, and we are also Pan-India for Plastics, knowledge partner for the Ministry of Jal Shakti, and we are working a lot on plastics, trying to bring the circularity, trying to keep the plastics within the system and trying to focus on design, in particular with the producers. So that element, and I'll share with you those things. But you know, dear Moderator Saab, the point of net zero is that each one of us will have to play a very important role. You know, how much are you consuming and how much are you, that is leading to emissions, and how much are you bringing it back to an equilibrium? And that's in principle, simple terms. So I don't want to get into too much, but I want to focus on the key point which you just said. What are the financials, right? How much time do I have? 2-3 minutes?
I think we have 12 minutes
12
for
minutes
these sessions.
Okay, I'll take a minute or two and then pass it on to you. The constraints are always going to be there. It's going to be never a clean slate, and we have to overcome them. What does private sector bring? You know, I often ask, what does private sector bring and what is government looking at? If I have to see what are the municipal bodies looking at, I've worked with 10 places. I was in UNDP for 20 years, and I was managing grants, and I was also managing plastics there and working with the ULBs. That is the urban local bodies, or the local bodies now in the terms. And what are they looking for? They are looking for a demonstrative, systemic approach. And what are private sector looking? They are trying to give you the systems and a systems-based holistic approach. So there is a good combination between the two. Both have funds. Private sector doesn't have so much funds that it can meet the needs of anybody. They have to also run a business. Both are looking business-wise. Both are trying to look how can we see that it sustains. So the money lies in the government. And government is very keen to give you. I'll share with you a video film, and I'm running in 10 cities. I'll take no more than a minute now and pass it on to the lady because people will be interested. And I'm going to show the realities. I'm talking in Bastar. We are working for a systems approach in setting up recycling centers and setting up recovery facilities, which we call as MRFs. And I've done more than 40 in India, in 40 cities in India, and I'm doing 10 with the HDFC Bank CSR. You would not believe, boss, I have just brought in 2 crores. The district collector asked me, Sodhi, tum mere ko ye bata, tu kitne paise laya? मैंने कहा सर मैं तो 2 करोड़ ही लाया हूँ, पर मेरा तो गैप फंडिंग है ना। कहता 19 करोड़ तो मैंने दिया है तेरे को। So you know, it is that charm of systems which we need to create. We can come and talk anything here, but it's that reality check which we need to do, how to demonstrate a integrated, holistic plastic waste management and operations in a city like Bastar, Jagdalpur. Many of you would be worried going there. Oh my God, Naxalism hai, kya hai? One of the most beautiful parts of this country. Stop here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Neha?
So your question was about can we reach net zero without circularity? So of course, no. And I think that speaks to the urgency at which almost every production system has to change, consumption patterns have to change. But coming more specifically, Vijay, to the topic of today, which is waste and water management and circularity, I would also say what Divya spoke in her address just now, that a lot of the effort and action will lie at the level of cities. And hence, cities will become the center of transition and also tipping points. Now, how do we look at cities and how do we look at many of these projects which actually lie within the ambit of what urban local bodies do, and also not only urban local bodies themselves, but some joint ventures, certain PPP projects that are coming up and have the potential of actually being crafted in a manner that you attain your circularity objectives, you attain your green objectives, as well as be able to have a business model which works. Now, right now, what I find about waste and water treatment aspects, especially, just stepping back a little, globally, the solid waste management usually lies, a whole lot of it lies with the municipal bodies, right? And just the latest report of UNEP, which was released in Nairobi a couple of days ago, said that right now the cost of managing waste hovers around $250 billion a year. That is going to triple itself to $600 billion a year, and the indirect costs related to climate change, related to health, if you add that on, that will be even much more massive. Now, this is the cost part of it, but there is also an investment opportunity part of it. And I think in this session, if we can really see where those opportunity lies and what are the avenues of financing. Mr. Sodhi said that private business will not have all the money, but we will need private capital because the budgets also will be constrained. The balance sheets of governments, especially city governments, are already constrained. Cities are not autonomous fiscal units to raise their revenues. So anything which requires money, in the eyes of the lender, your underlying assets, your underlying cash flows need to be solid to be able to grant you money, to lend you money. I mean, grants is another word over here. But if you give me a chance in the latter part of the discussion, I would really like to talk about, not grants and what state budgets can actually bring to the table. Usually they are delayed. Usually that's where the, bottleneck is. But can municipalities, can city bodies access market borrowing? Can they access blended finance? Are there solutions like that which already exist in India? I would love to talk about that.
Thank you. So what came in this, I think the circular economy and environment is not an environmental problem, it's a systems issue. And we have to see that how we can channelize some of the money in terms of blended finance, in terms of which can kickstart the private investment into some of these key sectors, which are not mainstream at present. Okay, so I will come back to the same point in terms of investors to you, that investor demand for green bonds will increase in line with the delivery of the quality products which are coming, and standards, assurances and certifications is essential to improve the confidence and transparency. So how do you see that CBI is working to address some of these issues around especially around at the sub-national level, at the city level, and getting the hand-holding and capacity building for the officials who are working on these projects?
Thank you. I can tell you that we have just finished 2 workshops, one with states and one with municipalities in the last 14 days. Just to tell you what climate bonds does in just a sentence, it is about making investor demand that exists globally. So how do you actually match your local project and financing needs to where the demand for such projects is coming from? So that's the international capital that we are talking about. But more importantly, pertinently, and immediately closer home, what is it that the market is rewarding or beginning to reward? Now, some of it has been pushed actually by policy and by regulation. Then what we see is that if there is a demonstration, other actors learn. So recently, for example, Vadodara Municipal Corporation raised a green bond for water treatment projects. And it was an issue of 100 crores. It was 14 times oversubscribed. It was, it landed a rate of about 7.90, the coupon rate. It is not bad at all. In fact, it is the best competitive rate that a municipality has been able to raise through commercial borrowing in the Indian market. It was Asia's first certified green bond for a municipal corporation. Now I come to your second question when I use the word certified. That is what is the crux of the whole thing. Green finance is about transparency, about robustness, about the purpose that you raise the money for, whether it is getting deployed towards that purpose or not. SEBI, we know, has come out with regulations. What matters for investors or lenders is not, say, just a broad green, a certificate. Actually, there is confusion about certificate also in Indian context. People think that just something that is, say, third-party labeled certificate is certificate, but actually not. When it comes to green financing, there is a process that has to be followed. It has to be verified by a third-party issuer, verifier, and then you come to the market and you market your issuance through that verified, credible process that you have taken on. So Vadodara is an example. Ahmedabad did that just before Vadodara. That was not a fully certified process. And I think that's what I'm trying to make a point over here. A lot of these things are already happening. They're already green, so to speak. But if they have to be labeled green to be able to attract that kind of money, then you will have to go through that process. Regulator has made it extremely clear that you will have to get it third-party verified or you'll have to get it certified. Otherwise, that will not cut the ice, because there's a lot of greenwashing that also happens. But just to add over here one thing, why labeling is so important, why it will define the market in the Indian scenario is that for now, Indian investors, and I'm talking about the LICs of this world, the institutional investors which have long-term capital available, they do not particularly discern between green, blue, white, whatever. So that market is fledgling. With the issuance of the sovereign green bond, there is an incipient demand. So unless you label, you will not be able to even get the institutional investors to recognize what is green and what is not. So the conversation, the regulatory support, the private capital coming in is all happening simultaneously. And I think we are at the cusp of just stepping into something which will create opportunity for city bodies, for other bodies to look at wastewater treatment and all of the circularity approaches that you talked about, but it will have to be backed by clear definitions, clear project, asset types will have to be much more clear, both in the eyes of the lender and the borrower.
Thank you. So let me come to you. In terms of the experience which you have in this region, what will work? Is it incentives? Is it mandates? Is it sharing best practices among cities? And how to achieve that, what one vision which we want to achieve in terms of water and waste management sector?
You see, the thing which is going to work is what benefits. We have to see that whatever you are doing, how is it benefiting people in terms of resource use and in terms of the funds which have been invested, what are the returns it is giving on, whether it's saving, it's leading to the right investment, that's it. She was talking about labeling. I just want to bring in that point, that Government of India is now coming up, setting up all the laboratories where the testing for all these things are to be done. Because there are certain testing, these bonds, when they are there, are not brought into the domain which are required, and that's where the delay lies, and that's where the whole process. So it's that whole ecosystem of first laying the standards, then verification processes, then finding what works, and then certifying the whole show. So that ecosystem is not only for bonds, it is for every product, because any product which has get into the Government of India is bringing the extended producer responsibilities to the producers, importers and brand owners. And they are saying the latest EPR on plastic says that you have to reuse 30% in the next 1.5 year or 1 year. Without getting into details, 25, 26, 30% of the material in your product line which will need to be recycled. Where is the labeling? I'm using this telephone, it's having a plastic cover at the back. It doesn't say what is it made of, whether it's polypropylene or it's LDP or HDP, and what percentage of recycled material is in it. You as a right investor and as a person may be interested to use recycled products. But when there is no labeling, so she's right in what she's saying. And we have to bring, and this is coming forth, the sectors have been identified, the circularity aspects have been brought in, ministries have been defined, and now it's being rolled off to the states and states to the private sector. But private sector is a gap funding. It'll be a misnomer to say here that they'll fund everything. I'm managing a $7 million project right now with a private sector bank, HDFC. And they said, Sodhi, what is the convergence? What is the leverage? And that's exactly what we need to do with government, because it's mandated by law to do the things with government. And why are we creating parallel systems? We will come in and walk out, and that's what our role is, to set the systems, procedures which work, which are providing benefits, which is creating sustainability. Everybody wants to look at that. Anyway, I'll close here. Give me 2 minutes to show the film. It'll be of great work to the audience.
No, yes, I think they already said
play
that.
on the film, please.
Play the,
Thank you.
The film.
इस चुनौती के समाधान के लिए जिला प्रशासन, पेयजल एवं जल शक्ति मंत्रालय का रूरल वॉश पार्टनर्स फोरम, HDFC बैंक, सेंटर फॉर एनवायरमेंट एजुकेशन CEE और सृष्टि वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट सर्विस प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के सहयोग से एक समुदाय आधारित परियोजना रूरल एंड अर्बन लैंडस्केप फ्री ऑफ ड्राई एंड प्लास्टिक वेस्ट को शुरू किया। बस्तर में एकीकृत अंतः विषय, सूखा अपशिष्ट और प्लास्टिक सामग्री पुनः प्राप्ति और रिसाइकलिंग सामग्री केंद्रों को स्वच्छ केंद्रों के रूप में बढ़ावा देने के लिए परियोजना को 1 ब्लॉक, 71 ग्राम पंचायत और 114 गाँव में कार्यान्वित किया जा रहा है। ये पहल न केवल पर्यावरण की सुरक्षा में मदद करेगी, बल्कि इससे बस्तर के लोगों को रोजगार का भी अवसर मिलेगा।
इस प्लास्टिक और सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट के कॉन्सेप्ट में भागीदार हमारे HDFC बैंक, सृष्टि वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट एवं CEE के संस्थाएं जुड़ी हुई। कोशिश हमारी ये की जा रही है कि जिला प्रशासन के अधिकारी प्लस हमारे नगर निगम के प्रत्येक सफाई कर्मचारी इसके साथ जुड़े।
महिलाओं को सशक्त बनाने के लिए स्वयं सहायता समूह का गठन किया गया है, जिसमें SHGs और पंचायत की सहमति से एक व्यवस्थित प्रक्रिया के माध्यम से महिलाओं को शामिल किया जाता है। SLR केंद्रों ने 300 महिला सदस्यों को नियमित रूप से कचरा संग्रहण के लिए शामिल किया है। आजीविका के अवसर और उनके स्वास्थ्य और सामाजिक समावेश में सुधार करने पर भी ध्यान केंद्रित किया जा रहा है। सोशल मैपिंग के माध्यम से प्रमुख संसाधनों और चुनौतियों की पहचान की जाती है। इस पहल की नींव का काम मटीरियल रिकवरी फैसिलिटी (MRF) और मटीरियल रिसाइक्लिंग सेंटर (MRC) से युक्त स्वच्छ केंद्र ने किया। 114 गांव से 236 सफाई मित्रों और 9 SLRM केंद्रों से सूखा कचरा प्राप्त कर MRF में जाकर अलग अलग करते हैं। जो MRC में भेजा जाता है। MRF की अनेक विशेषताएं हैं। इसके अलावा परियोजना में बेहतर पारदर्शिता के लिए व्यवस्थित प्रोटोकॉल का प्रयोग भी किया जाता है। विभिन्न समुदाय आधारित अभियानों, रोड शो, सफाई अभियान, घर घर जागरूकता, प्रशिक्षण आदि के माध्यम से हमने सीधे तौर पर लगभग 30,000 लोगों और अन्य 40,000 लोगों तक पहुंचकर प्रभावित किया है। सिर्फ 9 महीनों की अवधि में 9 SLRM केंद्रों द्वारा 15 लाख रुपए की राशि उत्पन्न की जा चुकी है। ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में SHGs की महिलाओं ने 2,39,553 रुपए कमाए हैं। ये बिजनेस मॉडल भारत के ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में स्थापित किए गए प्रथम MRF और MRC सेटअप के रूप में काम करेगा। मेरी आप सभी से विशेष विनती है कि आप सभी मेरी तरह एक स्वच्छता योद्धा बने।
Thank you so much, sir.
I'll not speak.
I think we are way beyond time, so we can discuss offline and we can move to the next session. Thank you.